Another week, game 2, test 2, Tuesday practice. And tomorrow's Wednesday, and players have weights. We work on third down, and it's the next opponent. So all eyes forward.
Let's look back for a second, Coach. As you watched the film from the game last week, did everything kind of match what you thought when it was happening live?
Well, I think when you put the tape on, you always see things you don't see during the game. And then the second, third, and fourth time you watch the tape, you always see things you didn't see the previous time, too. That's always been the case, really. So, last Saturday night was a great night for everybody involved with JMU. It was a tremendous effort. I expected a kind of a tougher challenge. It wasn't perfect. There were mistakes that, against better teams, things we have to clean up. So,
obviously, Todd was outstanding, and we've had a chance to talk to him a little bit now. But take us through recruiting him a little bit and how that worked out. And had you seen him at previous stops or in high school? Did you know about Todd before this year?
Well, we were searching for a transfer quarterback. We liked Billy. We had Alonzo coming in. I was looking for an older guy that had played. We had discussions with a few other guys, and Toddy came available, and I initiated the contact, talked to his old coach, Coach Adazio, and we were fortunate that it all came together.
Is there something that you saw in him that you thought might fit really well with what you guys do offensively?
I like the fact that he threw the ball well and was a good athlete. I've had really good success in the past with guys like that. They can beat you with their arm and legs. The fact that he had started at quarterback, put up pretty good numbers. They didn't win a lot of games, but he had some really good games, and their style of offense was different than our style. I really liked him on the phone a lot. He was very positive. He was close to finishing his MBA. He had good grades, and it all came together.
I want to ask about the coordinators a little bit too. And obviously Bryant in his first game as the DC. We'll start with Bryant, I guess, first of all, and talk about him and how that's worked as him taking over for Corey. Do you feel like that's been pretty seamless?
Yeah, I think so. He's added a few things, but kept the base package. And I thought we had a good spring. Started camp good, then we got hit with the COVID and lost our D-line for a while, and things kind of went backward on defense. But we got that straightened out. I thought, the 7 to 10 days before the opener, I could see it coming back together, and we just flew around and got after him. And Bryant's been with me a long time. He was a really good player at Ball State. Had been a graduate assistant in Indiana, Ohio State for Urban Meyer, coached small college. He wasn't making very much when I hired him, about $6,000. The big coup was year 2. I got him to turn down a $12,000 job to stay. And then he went to Cal Davis, and then when I went to Elon, I hired him back. And, he's got a good football mind. And, our defense was outstanding Saturday night.
And then Mike, too, his second year calling plays for you.
Right.
Do you see a more confident offensive coordinator, more comfortable?
Yeah, I think so. It's probably a little tough on him because I'm in the room all the time, and I'll have suggestions and recommendations. But he's another guy that's been with me a long time. Hired him from Pitt as a graduate assistant, and he grew every year. Came to me about the coordinator job, when Shane left, and bringing Tino in was a big key to that too. A good quarterback guy, and I liked what Alabama was doing on offense, and I wanted some new ideas throwing the football. So that's worked out real well. Mike's very detailed, does a great job of putting it together. Thought he called a really good game Saturday night. Every time I second-guessed him, it went for a big play.
You've used the word tests a lot when you're describing this season. What about Norfolk State presents a test for this team?
Yeah, Norfolk State, they had a rough opener against Marshall. They're playing up. And this is a week, it's all about your standards and how you do things, your standards of preparation, that they really can't change. When we when we play at home, we play with a lot of energy and we fly around, and that can't change. And we execute well, and that can't change. And so obviously it's a different kind of challenge, but respect for their program, what they've done in the past. Our players feel the same way, and we've got to get ourselves ready to go.
Kind of going back to maybe when you were in kind of like a Norfolk State shoe, like at Elon when you were playing, Toledo and USF in 2017, 2018. What do you kind of get out of those matchups when you're kind of at a talent disadvantage like that, and how do you kind of try to prep the guys during a week like that?
Yeah. Well, we just my first game was at Toledo. They won the MAC that year, and Elon had not won many games before I got hired. And we just went up there and we were going to play our game, and one play at a time. We really had a good spring, good camp, tried to change the identity of the team, which I thought we had done. And even though we lost, I liked the way we flew around up there. And after the game, I thought we had something, and we did. We went on to win 8 in a row.
You kind of talked about, Todd having qualities that you've had other quarterbacks with. Does he remind you of any quarterbacks that you've had before?
I had a guy named Lenny Williams at IUP. He was a transfer from Temple. He was from Pittsburgh, Stowe Rocks High School. Got him about my 5th year there. I think he rushed for over 1,000 both years I had him. The second year, he led the country in pass efficiency by a very, very wide margin. He had a year or two of eligibility left when I took the Elon job. He was a tremendous athlete. And, Toddy is similar but a little different. Toddy throws it a little better, and Toddy's 220 pounds. And, Toddy's they were both great competitors. So we had a lot of success with Lenny, and we had success Saturday night with Toddy. But every game's a little different. There were things that we thought we could take advantage of against Middle Tennessee, and every week it's kind of a little bit of a different game.
Were you surprised at all, kind of how Saturday went and how much success that Todd was able to find kind of in the first game with a new team?
It took him a little while to get settled in that first series. He made 2 really poor reads in a row. But then he got his feet on the ground. He completed the 3rd down pass to Reggie and then started to get his feet on the ground. He still missed 1 or 2 balls. He'd be first to tell you that. But the way he competed and made something out of nothing, and his command and his confidence and his presence really started to show up as that game went on. Every time I go back and watch that game for the 3rd time or 4th time, I see the impact that he had on that game. And he made a couple really nice throws as it got going. So, he's going to have a lot of media attention this week. Fortunately, he's a 6th-year guy, and, I don't think he'll be affected by it too much. Very encouraged, as is everybody.
Yeah, and then yesterday you kind of talked about Jalen a little bit and, how you had a lot of confidence in him kind of stepping into that role, and he was able to do it. What about, his play kind of coming into the year gave you that confidence, and then he was able to kind of show you on Saturday?
Jalen.
Walker?
Oh, yeah. Well, because he did it in practice. And he was just a backup to Tuck because Tuck was a starter and was one of the leaders, so Tuck didn't come off the field very much. And Jalen just needed repetition. Repetition's the mother of learning. And we thought he had an outstanding future, and he had a really good first game.
Kind of same on the same boat with Torres Jones kind of stepping in, kind of replacing Kelvin in that same spot. Was that a similar kind of situation?
Absolutely. I mean, his upside is through the roof, what he potentially can do. And he had an outstanding game also.
Assess the O-line. Obviously, Todd helps that O-line at times, trying to get out of some things, but you ran the ball well. Obviously, you threw it well too, protected pretty well. Were you happy with how they played up front?
Yeah, I thought we played fairly well. I think they all can play better. And, I mean, you had left tackle playing his first game at left tackle, left guard first game at left guard. Center keeps improving. The right guard plays really hard. He's a tough guy, but fundamentally he's got some things he's got to clean up. Kidwell was very solid. Tight ends were good. Zach Horton was outstanding.
Yeah, talk about Zach a little bit, because he obviously he had the penalty blocking out of bounds, but he showed some physicality, some toughness. He was really good, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he didn't know that he couldn't sustain his block once the guy was out of bounds. He didn't know that. You know, you got to cover all this stuff. But just, you know, he's a nasty guy, and he's a good athlete, tough physical guy, and got good hands. He moves well, good blocker, good future.
So the wide receivers and Todd got a lot of attention for getting on the scoreboard for JMU, but a lot of people also took notice in the running back room, and particularly in Percy coming back, it looked like he didn't miss a single beat after missing the majority of last season. I mean, how exciting was it for you to be able to see him out 100% again?
Oh, really exciting. I thought he ran really well, ran hard, you know, made good cuts, broke tackles. And it was good to see him get going. I thought Kalon really ran well, too. And Luttrell early in the game made some really nice runs. So, and then that whole running game just opens up when the quarterback is able to pull the ball. You know, now all of a sudden, you know, they can't just sit in there. You know what I'm saying? It opens up the pass game, too.
And talk to me how those three, Percy, Luttrell, and Kalon, feed off of each other a little bit in that running back room to have like such a good connection.
Yeah, that running back room has always had very good karma. Matt Merritt established that really back at Elon, and then when he came here. And then John Miller has done a great job of keeping it going. Those guys all pull for each other. They're each other's biggest fans. And, you know, that's really great to see.
How'd you guys find Brent Austin? You don't recruit Kyle Ford that often. He didn't have many offers, and he's on the field first game.
Yeah, that was Matt Burkett, who grew up in California for a while, has some California ties. Family's from out that way. And a personal trainer who was a friend of his was training Brent, called Matt. Near the end of recruiting, he had this guy he thought could really be a good player. He had a FCS offer out west, but didn't want to go FCS, so he came to visit. I think it was during spring practice maybe, and it was strictly a matter of, you know, distance and that kind of thing. And as soon as he got here, you know, he came in a little late in the summer, I think a couple weeks after the other guys, and he's done a really nice job for us. He's got a lot of talent.
Has he been one of the biggest surprises?
Pleasant surprise, but we had track times on him. We could see things on tape that matched up and thought that he could potentially come in here and compete because we were looking for some help at corner.
You were without a couple of guys this weekend, like Noah Turner and Solomon. When do you kind of expect to get them back out there?
Yeah, you know, fairly soon. We'll see. You know, I don't like to talk too much about injuries and stuff like that, but, you know, I don't think it'll be too long.
Kind of give us a scouting report on Norfolk State, both offense and defense. What have you seen on film out of these guys?
Well, they've only got 7 senior starters. They lost a lot of guys, I think, last year. The line's big on offense. The running back was newcomer of the year in the conference last year. They got some wideouts that move pretty darn well. Quarterback's new. Defensively, the 2 linebackers were all conference in the field corner. And, you know, they've got good speed. But, you know, they had a rough opener against Marshall, and I'm sure they're not very pleased about it, looking to rebound and have a better showing on Saturday.
You know, when you watch that Norfolk State film and obviously, you know, playing Marshall, a team you'll see later, is there anything you maybe picked up from Marshall that you think you might be able to use in, you know, months' time?
Well, really the focus is on Norfolk State. You know what I mean? I mean, they're playing Marshall, so you get to see Marshall a little bit, which will be the case with all the Sun Belt teams. We actually have all the Sun Belt games in. You know, they come in every Sunday, so, you know, if I wanted to, I could watch App and Texas State and Arkansas State and Georgia Southern, but, you know, I wouldn't do that, would I?
Yeah, you don't like watching film, do you?
And then I think last thing for me, you know, kind of going back to Todd with, you know, how much he ran with 14 carries and, you know, also took some hits in the pocket. Is that maybe something you monitor going forward? How many hits he's taking with the running
quarterback? I think so. You know, some of the hits were because he had guys open and didn't throw it and ran, especially early in the game. And then some were plays where he could hand it off or keep the ball. The nice thing about those plays when he keeps it, he's outside away from a lot of the stuff. So it's usually a one-on-one tackle, you know what I mean? And remember now, he's 220 pounds.
Yeah, along those lines, you normally kind of think of a guy getting into rhythm by throwing it more. He kind of seemed to kind of get in rhythm and comfortable just by moving the chains, whether it was with his legs or whatever.
Yeah,
Is
he
that
was having success, you know, developing confidence, and then it all came together, pass game and run game.
is that like unusual for somebody? I mean, am I reading that right? Can he kind of
I think-
gain
I think
rhythm
there's
by?
probably a strong possibility that was the case. Yeah.